Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Alien versus Predator Galaxy podcast, the original Alien and Predator podcast. I am your usual host, RidgeTop. My real name is Adam Zeller. And joining me are my usual hybrids that are now ruling over everything.
Or at least one little island, I guess. But Aaron Percival, aka Corporal Hicks.
Greg, also known as Still Collating.
And Stephen Hartigan, aka Kailem.
And today we are talking the conclusion, the finale, the last episode of Alien Earth, the real monsters. So it's pretty wild to think that, you know, just going back and thinking, oh, I started watching this show at Comic Con. And then I saw the first episode again in theaters in mid August. And so we've been on this journey now from August really until now. And it's something we're really not used to with Alien, having a weekly new hour to look forward to. But it's wild that it's now concluded and we can all think about it and we can discuss it. I know we have thoughts on this final episode. So why don't we get right into it and just give our short impressions, feelings? Why don't we start with you, Aaron?
Yeah, but I can't now offer context to everybody else. I seem to like this more than everybody else in the admin chat does. So the AvP Galaxy staff chat does. Which is funny to me because I'm still quite passionless about it. And like the episode doesn't excite me, but I still enjoyed it. Question mark. What the fuck's going off with Aaron at the minute? Who knows? Um Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. There wasn't as much stuff in this that I was like, this really pisses me off. I can't say many of my notes have that in them. It was just fine. Some of the theme stuff came together nicely for me, and I really liked sort of the darker direction that it took with the hybrids. Yeah.
Okay. And Greg, how did you feel about it?
Well, I I won't say I was passionless about this episode. There were some strong feelings, but unfortunately, they are going into the wrong direction there.
Passionately dislikes it.
Unfortunately, I was hoping that wasn't going to be the case, but yeah, I'm disappointed by generally how it ended, how it tied up everything. In other words, tied up almost nothing. In my kind of impression, there there were moments that I enjoyed when looked at just like an individual collage of scenes and moments. You can say it was nice. It had some fun and okay scenes, but uh, the second I started thinking about it, I was just not enjoying it. And at the end, I felt like wasted 8 hours getting to here and not getting uh, any meaningful payoff to me, honestly. I enjoyed more our kind of weekly chats and discussing things with other people. I like the format of a show, an idea that you can go weekly into these things. But as of the material, not really, unfortunately.
As you said, it's certainly a show that can spark discussion, and we've been having a lot of discussion, a lot of speculation about the series. But yeah, I've heard that quite a bit online, as people just feeling unsatisfied that there wasn't really enough payoff. But how about you, Stephen? How did you feel about the real monsters?
Yeah, it's always hard for me to hear that title as well without, like I said to you, thinking of that bit in Futurama where it's like the scientist at the end credits in that one episode being like, "At last, I've distilled all the most evil parts of the most evil monsters ever created to create the most evil creature in the universe." And then like a pod opens and a guy comes out and he goes, "Turns out it's man." So, like, part of the part of me was just kind of thinking, like, please don't just be that obvious, Noah Hawley. Like, we've known that that's a theme in this series since like 1979. Like, it's not you're not treading any new ground here. But to be honest, I was kind of happy that they didn't go as, like, super evil with the hybrids as I thought they were gonna go after the last episode. Like, they were really just kind of screwing with most people and then, imprisoning everyone rather than just straight up, "We're gonna tear your faces off," or anything, like, "We're better than humans now," even though it's kind of going in that direction a bit with Wendy. But yeah, like, overall, I was also kind of dissatisfied with how it was weird because I kind of like Hicks, I enjoyed the series overall, I think, and when I was watching it, but it was still kind of a sense of like, the finale felt like this should have been the penultimate episode. It felt like we should still have one more episode left to go that should be the real finale, and there wasn't enough payoff for me for so much of the stuff that they were setting up for it to be really satisfying in the way
Just
that
to
it
be
should have
clear,
been.
just to be clear here, I thought this episode was fine. The overall show, I'm like meh on. Don't be putting slander out
Yeah.
there, Kailem.
Yeah, like you said, and like Greg said, there were individual parts that I liked, but overall, it was just like, "Wow, that's it? Like, that's what we're ending it on? Like, okay." Just
We do need to talk about the cliffhanger stuff though, but we can wait until Adam.
I'll give my thoughts real quick. Were you done with yours, Steven?
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, ultimately this was kind of disappointing for me. I was very into the series when it started. Episodes 1 and 2, if you'll remember, I did a review of the pilot. I gave it a 9. I was really happy with it, and it really got me excited to where the season would go overall. Unfortunately, it just kind of felt like it meandered for so long, especially after we got back to the island, that it was almost like it was dragging its feet, setting things up. And when you spend so much time setting things up, I think your audience, at least a portion of your audience, is going to expect a satisfying payoff. And I didn't get that in the last episode. There were still things I enjoyed. I thought it was an interesting switch how the hybrids, they all started in the cage, and then it was the administrative staff that ended up in the cage. So I liked that flip at the end. But overall, it was a frustrating episode. People doing dumb things again, like we've seen through, especially in the second half of this season. Um, the xenomorph, I thought it was all right sometimes here, but again, it's just never really been shot as well as it was in those first couple of episodes. I think it's just kind of very mixed results when we're seeing it here. I still like the design, and it's interesting seeing this design a little bit different to the earlier one. But overall, I can understand people's complaints with the xenomorph and how it's portrayed. I was hoping Wendy's communication with the xenomorph, would end up being a bit more substantive than just issuing commands. But it seems like it's really not. Um,
You wanted more communication.
I'm like, if we're going into this, let's make it interesting. Let's see where this goes instead of just go here, kill this person. But um, I guess we're not there yet. We'll see if we get there with the second season. It's just with a finale, and I know you and I talked about this, Aaron, in terms of expectations of the end of a season for TV. Like, the TV landscape has really changed since these budgets have exploded and become, I guess, more akin to movies in some way. I still like, instead of a year or so before we get another season, because the production budgets and everything that goes into this, it's usually like 2 or 3 years now. And I feel that you need to balance setting things up in the future with a satisfying conclusion. And yes, the dynamic has changed. The hybrids are now in command. At least we'll see what happens when Wayland Utani shows up. But and we can get into that. But overall, I think it was it was disappointing for me. I would say there's things I like about it, but I'm mostly disappointed. I don't think it was a bad episode. It was just certainly not a satisfying conclusion.
Do you want to jump straight into the cliffhangery bits then? The ending.
Yeah. So I mean,
Why?
again,
Let me ask you guys this question first, though. When you say it's not satisfying, when you say the threads aren't tied up satisfactionally enough, what specifically is jumping out in your minds that hasn't been tied up well enough for you? And I this is all me playing devil's advocate, just putting it out there. I'm just curious. So if somebody wants to tell me what's not got a nice enough bow on it.
I would say, what the hell was going on with Kirsch? You know, he was acting really suspect, and we got no explanation
We got the
whatsoever
answer for
for
that.
why he was doing that. Well, he
We
was.
got the answer.
We just assumed that he was just. Oh,
Well,
it was kind of to trap Morrow, but
that's
it was
it.
doing it at the expense of like, oh, we're gonna let another alien out on the island, and we're gonna, you know, have one of our scientists get killed, and then you have the two, you know, kids that are like, oh, we did something really bad. Oh well, you know, like no resolution to that either, and you know, we got a Wayland Yutani invasion that was like half an invasion because they sent a few guys just to get killed and captured first before all the other ships came in, I guess. And that's just left hanging. Like, what was the point in that? And, you know, just Boy Cavalier just being like, hey, I'm just kind of a idiot, I guess. Like, there was no, I don't know, like nothing. It didn't feel like hardly anything they set up was paid off. Like, there was all this stuff like, "Oh, what's gonna go you know, what's happening with the kids? Are they gonna get found out?" Like, you know, "What's gonna be" and, like, you know, Nibs, it was like, "Oh, she's had her memory erased. Guess it didn't matter because she's still just kind of gone, like, psycho anyway," which I guess they were trying to prevent, but didn't. Like, they just seemed to set up a lot of stuff that was not paid off in any real meaningful way. Like, "Oh, Arthur's dead. Nobody seems to know." Like you know, we're not even clued in. Like, does his wife even know that he's dead? Doesn't seem like it. Like, so much stuff just seemed like it should have been addressed and just wasn't. It was just left hanging. And it was like, oh, okay, I guess we're just ending it there. On to season two, I guess, maybe in a few years. And just got a thing and, like, you know, Wendy being able to control the alien, it's like, "Oh, I guess she can just control the alien." There is no, like, no, the alien's playing her, or, no, she can just hear what the alien's saying. Like, nope, she just controls the alien. Alien just does what she says. So, all of that was very unsatisfyingly handled in the finale for me.
I completely agree there with Kailem. There were so many plot threads that were just left hanging. Uh, as said about the alien, let's start with the Noah Hawley has constantly been in interviews. Oh no, this is a temporary alliance. That maybe this won't go so well. This truce that they have, and we get absolutely none of it. Like no pushback, no any hint that the alien is plotting something, is being coerced, or it's literally an attack dog. It is more domesticated, more pet friendly than most animals. It listens to commands better than my cats. It's not even a wild lion or a wild bear. No, she had a few days with it that she was going all cuckoo crickety crick at it, and they are now friends. It listens to her completely, which again, yeah, she has a supercomputer for a brain, okay, but in the end, she is a synthetic. She's just a robot with just a kid's mind, and she is absolutely using the alien as a tool. The alien is a non-character in this finale. It is nothing. It is just a tool for some scenes, action and gore here and there, but it's a it's an absolute non-threat. The goddamn one of the final scenes we have, we have the alien standing there with the little sidekick alien looking at the synthetics like, yay, we're part of a team, just standing there. Hosts are meters away, and no, nothing. It's just standing there being happy. Oh, I have my family. I'm with you. I'm ready to do what you say, Commander. And I'm like, God, I can't believe we are at this place with previous kind of hybrids and controllable aliens, etc. Aliens were either coerced when humans are doing it through a queen, or predators doing it through a queen, three worlds war, whatever. Or with Eloise, she is part alien queen. Ripley 8, she is literally half alien queen. So with those, and even then with Ripley 8, with goddamn resurrection, with which is borderline parody, you don't get them being silly enough to, let's have Ripley 8 control the aliens and do some funky stuff there. Like even that crazy ass movie had the kind of the logic in them to say, yeah, that's one line we shouldn't cross. I mean, Sigourney Weaver literally says there, what, you're gonna teach your tricks, roll over, fetch. And the scientists are like, yeah. And the film shows in a few minutes that can't be done easily. But here it is. Here it's extremely easily. And the implications are absolutely fucking wild, because if a supercomputer can do that in a few days, and it's all audible, then you can have a device that does that in the future. How come goddamn Weyland Yutani or another company never came across that, oh, these aliens are emitting some sounds, let's decode them, let's translate, let's have a goddamn conversation with them. But
I
okay.
feel like you've moved off into a very
Sorry,
different
sorry,
point
sorry.
right here,
Yeah.
Greg.
Yes, so sorry, but generally the plot threads with the eye thing, we were expecting a goddamn conversation. Nothing happens with the eye thing. It's just being chased around and kicked all over the place. Okay, so Arthur's dead, but no, he isn't. Well, technically, the actor will be returning. You kind of expect in the show, especially an alien show, we're gonna get some characters killed. Not only did we not get some of the main characters killed, even most of the minor characters, nobody got destroyed. Like um, Adam, he's still whole for some reason. We still have Hermit. The only named character that actually bit the bullet was Siberian. I think even the other security guard friend, he's still alive. Like, what
And
was the point of it all?
and those two, I don't know. I was hoping there'd be more with them. I never really got them as main characters. They were just kind of side characters, I think. Um, but yeah, no, I get your frustration, Greg, and it's something that I figured would be a point of controversy, especially with fans, was how this was going to work with the alien. I'm still not opposed to the idea as long as it eventually gets somewhere that's not just go here, kill this person. Um, because yeah, it does. I don't know. I've always been intrigued by the fact that the aliens are, or the idea that the aliens are smarter than they're given credit for. I think Alien Resurrection actually did explore that, and I thought it was an interesting moment when you had the like the moment of affection with the warrior and with Ripley when she's taken to the hive. I was like, oh, that's different. That's intriguing, kind of. So again, I'm not opposed to exploring these concepts that are outside of just alien kill, alien take someone to the hive to like. I do want to explore the alien beyond that. It's the same with the predator side of things, right? I do want to see more of the predator besides just they hunt, they take skulls. Like I want to see more. So I'm not as opposed, but I knew a lot of people would be. That seems to be the case. And it was, I think, in this episode taken even further into the just issuing commands territory. I did think it was a nice little image of the the baby xenomorph with the big one at the end, and I didn't realize that was practically done until I can't remember which one of us pointed that out in the staff chat, but it was just they had it, the warrior up on wires. Um, and I guess this alien, I was thinking maybe this xenomorph was a bit smaller than Steve, and it turns out it was. It was by a different creature performer. I believe this is the first woman xenomorph creature performer that we've had.
Unless any of the extras in AvP were.
Yeah, I guess
But we don't know. All we
we're
know about the
not
extras
sure.
in AvP was
We could specify
dentists.
like main xenomorphs, I guess. Her name's too far up in the chat, but um, I
I'll
mean,
have a look.
I thought the performance was well done. I just didn't feel like the xenomorph was shot as effectively as it was earlier on. There were still a couple nice shots here, especially when things got dark and kind of spooky.
It looked
Um,
good when it was shot in backlight and silhouette and vapor and stuff like that. I mean, I'm going to disagree with you in saying that the alien looked good in the first 2 episodes, because I don't think it was shot well in the first 2 episodes at all.
I
But
know
yeah,
a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't feel that way. I was one of the few defending it there. And then once Alien Five, or once Episode Five rolled around, I was like, "Ugh, that's not shot as well right there."
Jade Rutini was the other the female performer.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and the performances are relatively okay and strong from the actors to the creature performers. So, like the people working on this, and even the set designers as well, you can see there is a lot of skill and love put into this with the people who put in the work. But as a concept, you just have these kind of hanging ideas. Like we were wondering, is the alien going to molt? Is it going to transform into something? What was going on with the cave shot? Will it escape to another place? Will the invasion of the city begin, or will it end, be nuked, whatever? And nothing happens. Literally, nothing happens. So those are some of the kind of things that boy Cavalier, people were going like, "Oh, he's certainly gonna die. He has to die, of course." I was like, "Well, since you're all expecting it, Noah's probably not gonna do it just because of that." And unfortunately, yeah, that happened. So none of them get any real resolutions. And I especially agree with what Kailem said about Kirsch. That was quite a surprise in the sense of an underwhelming development because you keep on getting these camera pans to Kirsch with this perplexed look on his face, like, "Ooh, he's thinking about something, he's plotting something," and in the kind of last few episodes, it's like, "Oh, so he is keeping this secret from the boy K. Ooh, so he's maybe doing this against him." Then in the end, nothing in this last episode. The fight scene was great. The fight scene is the peak moment from for this last episode. Kirch versus Morrow, greatly choreographed, had some nice kind of uh, themes that really sparked out in that fight. That was nice. But other than that, nothing. And even Morrow, like from such an interesting character to relative failure there. He didn't do much. We'll see in season 2, has he helped enough with getting this invasion force in, but it's like nothing happens. And with Curly's character, she had an interesting scene, and she's
Okay. Come on. Before you just touch on every single bloody thing in the episode, this is, as much as this show has frustrated me, this is one of those moments where I just feel out of touch because of everything in this that has pissed me off. The fact that a incomplete narrative has ended on being incomplete is just not a factor to piss me off. I don't get it. You know, all along I've been saying it's hard to judge these things because we don't have a full picture quite yet. And that's a cop out. It is a cop out, but it's also the reason I never liked reviewing individual issues of a comic. There's a reason I never did that. And again, it's we don't have a full picture. And you know, I kind of said in our chat, didn't I? I don't know how anybody had coped back in the 1980s watching Star Trek and the Best of Both World Part 1 ends and everybody's outraged that they don't know what's happened to Captain Picard. And I don't know if it's just a shift in the landscape of the way that shows are made, shows are viewed. Nowadays, when we get a season of television, it is a complete story. If
To
you're watching Jack Reacher, you're watching a book per season, a complete narrative per season. And I'm sorry to go for Jack Reacher. That's just because I fucking love that show.
to an extent, I think there's a balance to be struck. And yeah, I've always been more of a movie guy. Going back and exploring older TV series more, like I've done that more recently, even things like Buffy, which I never really watched and I thought was really good and really intriguing. So I'm not saying everything has to fit to this format. Um, but I have seen, especially like the big budget franchise series, right? Like Fallout is a great example. Probably one of my favorite TV series in modern times. I thought that first season was just spectacular all the way through and ended with a satisfying conclusion to a number of threads, but also left things open like, okay, they're starting the next part of the adventure here and they're starting to tease that a little bit. But they didn't leave that much open. I mean, they concluded some things, but they also really opened things up to the next chapter. I think they did a really nice balance with that.
You see, that's like I think Kailem mentioned, the whole thing with Smee and Slightly. Yeah, that's left open, but it's not like it's washed away. Towards their last moment, it is re-brought up and readdressed, and that's like leaving threads for them to continue with. And maybe this is just because Noah, I feel like, clearly doesn't know how to make an Alien TV show, and is trying to leave himself scope for a continuing season. Leaving these threads and stuff. And yeah, the Kirsch thing may have been unsatisfactory, but it was there. It was dealt with, and granted, as all things to do with this show, you have to do. You have to go and read Noah Hawley's interview or listen to his interview, where he goes, "Yeah, it was just about capturing Morrow, and Kirsch was willing to break a few eggs to make that omelette." I think was one of the interviews that I read or heard. So yeah, I don't get it. I found it fine because I'm there going. I'm very confident in there being a season two. So I'm not worried that they're not going to get wrapped up. If we get to it's been cancelled, and there's no, and there's no conclusion to it, or it keeps going for another 3 seasons and it is still continually not dealt with, then yeah, maybe I'll be pissed off with it. But after 8 hours and not a complete season, I feel like it's not a complete season of TV because even in this world, most TV shows are getting 10 hours, 10 episode seasons rather than 8, or does it just keep decreasing the longer we go on and the longer the harder the streaming bubble is to contain? um yeah, I don't it didn't bother me in the slightest. Of all the things in this TV show, that was not one of them.
It was also brought up in the chat by Steve Patterson, who said, "As soon as I saw the episode was only just over 40 minutes long, I felt deflated." Yeah, it was another one of the shorter episodes, I think. And I don't know. I feel like there was some sense of scale in the beginning with the first few episodes with the city that maybe I wanted a little bit more of that at the end. I felt like we needed to wrap up the island at least. And so for things to be left kind of on the island with the invading force coming in, and movies are not immune from this too, right? Prometheus, one of my main complaints on Prometheus was so much felt hinged on a sequel. Um, Another odd reference here. I was into the Resident Evil movies for a while. As bad as they were, I was invested and I liked them. And I remember at the end of the fifth one, Retribution, you had this enormous battle in front of the White House, and all these characters were like, oh shit, now it's on. And then in the next movie, it's just like, oh, that battle happened. Whoa, that was crazy, guys. And I do worry like that we might see something here, right? Like they're suddenly in a new location and Wendy has a voiceover where she's like, oh, they came in and they messed us up and we had to get out and now our situation is completely changed. And I can totally see that happening. And so I just feel like for me anyway, that balance was not struck in terms of enough of a conclusion. Because again, it just felt like most of the season I was waiting for that payoff, waiting for something to happen. And there just wasn't enough of an exciting conclusion for that. Um, again, those expectations could be set up from other TV series I've seen these days, like The Last of Us, or like Fallout, or other big budget TV series, and maybe that's unfair to judge Alien on that metric, but it's an expectation I would have from a big budget franchise TV show.
To that end, though, don't you? I mean, I don't know how common this is now, but does it not kind of feel like more shows are trying to go back to the way things used to be done? You know, this show does it in that weekly format. You know, all the new Star Treks have been going back to that weekly format. And they've been going, no, we're not going to drop it all at once for you anymore. We're going to try and capture this old school magic. And so I don't miss it, because it's a very valid point that I also mentioned when we were chatting in our chat. But Sarah brings up best of both worlds. The wait was so painful, but it was only a few months in between episodes. It is at least a year now. So yeah, it was three months for that Star Trek episode that I called out. And sorry, I always go to that because that is one of the best sci-fi cliffhangers of all time.
Which one?
But best of both worlds, Star Trek.
Next
That's
Generation.
it's the one where he gets assimilated by the Borg.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of
So
Next Generation.
yes, so season 3 ended on him being kidnapped and turned into the Borg, and then season 4
And it was
started
3
with
months of wait,
yes.
which is you wouldn't see that now.
No, it's going to be at least a year, but probably more likely 2 to 3 if this happens. So yeah, I get that, and I do want to make sure that's mentioned. But that again, that's standard now.
I would also say
I
that one of the differences, though, is like that was like a holy shit, I can't wait to see what happens next thing, whereas this is more like a that's it, like kind of thing. Like this is kind of a cliffhanger,
That,
but you
that's
know,
fair if that's your reaction to it. And I don't
like
want
I
to.
was,
I don't want to take away from anybody being frustrated by that. I just, it's
yeah,
one of
I
those
was, because that was
things.
like, oh my god, like wow, they're leaving it on there. Oh my god, I can't wait to see what happens next. Whereas here is like, it just kind of felt like hardly anything happened prior. I'm not really excited for what's gonna happen next.
I'm kind of curious why I'm so satisfied with the turn with the synths though, because somehow I was looking through again. My only negative note is about the plumber care thing. And that is me going, that's it. That's
Yeah,
felt like such
yeah.
an afterthought.
I was gonna bring that up too, because this thing, again, we've had so much set up with these creepy shots, like, oh, what is this thing? What does it do? And I remember like joking about it earlier with Natasha. I was like, it's just gonna be a barnacle from Half-Life 2.
Oh
They're just
yeah,
gonna have just
this
somebody
is a
up and eats him.
barnacle.
And that's exactly what it was. And it felt like the same thing with Mr. Tang earlier in the season, where I'm like, we've spent so much time being like, what's this creepy guy up to, guys? We don't know, he's dead. And
Nothing.
it's like
well, we know what's up with him. He likes to jack off to people in cryo sleep.
you spent a lot of time for just that, focusing on it. But
Yeah. It's like, oh wow, you
It's
really set up this pointless, absolute nothing character. Like, oh, you'll never
it's
guess what my
well,
ultimate resolution will be. Alien, and that's it. That's the end of him. It's like, oh, cool.
Hermit's a nothing character as well, though. It's like Noah Hawley can't stick the landing at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's funny. I know Eric brought up Angry Joe show, I believe our last episode, and you look at his cover images for the Alien Earth series, and when it started, it was like best show on TV, best show ever, and then the most recent one was like it stinks, ultimate disappointment. So
I'm angry.
Angry Joe was angry at the finale, but um, yeah, and I feel like it's one of the reasons I want to go back and watch the show all the way through, just binge it and see how that feels as opposed to the weekly format. Um, because I think maybe I'll judge it, I don't know, differently. Maybe I'll end up with the same feelings on it, but it makes me wonder if anything would be different there.
I binged it before the 8th episode, so I was the whole day leading up to it, like from start to finish. And when the finale came out, I was like, okay. So to me, honestly, that kind of even ruined it even more. I think for me, I'm a person who likes binge watching shows. I have no problem with that, but I understand the magic of waiting week to week and having these discussions. I like both. I like both. I'm a person who really likes shows, and I think a lot of them can be a lot more interesting and of a greater quality than a lot of films. I adore TV and shows, but that's why this just feels half baked. It does not know what it wants to be. It's trying to be a show, trying to be a film, and being shit at both. Like, in my opinion, uh, I mostly agree with what Kailem said in the sense of this last episode feels like it should have been the seventh, the setup to something, because most of this show is setting up. Oh, something's gonna happen on the island. Oh, they're gonna get loose. Oh, who's it gonna kill? Is there gonna be a conversation? It's all setup, and we expect, okay, we're gonna get a payoff in the seventh and eighth. Okay, still not in seventh. Okay, it's just gonna be in the finale eighth episode, and not even there. The eighth was more of a setup for season two than seventh was for eight. And I'm like, what? And of course, now that we've listened to the commentary on the official podcast for the show, etc., and some of other Holly's interviews, I think it does make sense why I felt that way, because this is literally a pilot for season two. This is all just his setup in that sense. And when I thought, like, how many stories do we actually have in this 8-episode format? We have the first and second episode, which feel like one just longer story. So we have one thing there. We have the third and fourth episode. We have that interchangeable fifth one that wasn't planned at all. We have the sixth and the seventh and eighth, which are so short, it feels like just one long episode. So even though they're like 8 episodes, it feels there's like material for 6. But he's trying so many themes that you would need like the classical 12 to 20 episodes. You cannot kind of return to the old format of TV shows without having enough episodes as TV shows used to have. Like, if you're going to try a lot of things with a lot of themes and different directions, you need to develop those with enough time. But here it was either dropped, either elements that were dropped completely, or they were just unsatisfyingly resolved. So that's why we kind of had that underwhelmed uh, experience when the credits came. Like, you're ending it here? Nothing more? That's it?
It
That's
does feel like Noah Hawley did throw a lot of stuff at the wall to see what stuck when it came with this. And on one hand, I'm kind of like, I respect you trying a load of different shit, but then on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, you didn't stick the landing though.
It's wild because how critically acclaimed the series has been. I haven't looked at Rotten Tomatoes recently, but it's still, I believe, up there among the highest rated Alien live action media. But the user score has gone down on Metacritic as well, and I've noticed, especially the latter part of the season has been more controversial among fans and audiences.
Yeah, it's so on Rotten Tomatoes, sorry, it is now 93% critically. It is down to 68% on audience score.
Jeez, that is, people did not like the finale. And that was lower than the last time I
People
looked.
the
Pretty
last
soured.
episode, literally on all of them, on IMDb, on Rotten Tomatoes, and on Metacritic, has lowered by multiple decimal points, like 2
Five
decimal points.
5.3 on Metacritic. 5.3. Jesus Christ. Let me
Those
have a
lower.
look on IMDb now.
Lower on both of them.
Come back, Covenant. All is forgiven.
IMDb still reasonably high, 7.4.
Okay, so I think
7.6
most of
for-
us have been disappointed in this finale. Most of us have also been talking about the finale in the context of the season as a whole. But Aaron, it feels like you've been sitting back here listening to us complain for long enough, and you liked it more than we did. So why don't you tell us the things you did like, and maybe we can focus on a bit of the positives for us.
Yeah,
as well
Aaron.
after that.
Tell us why it was
Yeah,
good.
I don't want to be put on the spot like that. God. It's fun, especially because like I said, I feel so passionless about it to the point where I messaged Adam going, "Can you fucking host this episode, please?" But one of the things I really enjoy about the Alien franchise at the minute is the sort of critique of corporate behavior, and you can expand that into just about any big organizational behavior. You can go as far as governmental behavior if you want. And I've really enjoyed them, the sort of arc of Wendy. You know, she goes from she's this miracle child. She's as important as Neil Armstrong. She's the first, going to be down in the history books kind of thing. And I've actually really enjoyed her arc into discovering that, you are a thing that these people think they own. And it's not just that, as Boy says in this episode, you're the floor model. You are the thing we are going to show off to these other people. And I've really enjoyed her sort of realizing how valueless she is to Boy, and I guess to some extent to Dame. Um, how valueless she is to them. She is their property, their thing. And to then see her absolutely, it's been kind of gradual. It's been sympathetic moments with the alien. And while, yes, I'm still always going to be pissed off that she appears to be talking to the alien, I do not like the way they've presented that connection, that communication. But I've liked that she started to identify with them. She sees herself as another caged animal, like they are, to then absolutely reclaiming her agency in this episode and going down the dark Ripley path, or heading down that dark Ripley 8 path. If Ripley 8 had decided she was more alien than human, I found that really satisfying, because I can't wait. I like seeing her put the bosses in their places. I like it ending with everybody tied up, with Kirsch's back broken, with Atom Ein just looking at a Boy Cavalier going, "Shut up, you prick." The contempt that the father figures to him have shown in the show in the last couple of episodes has been wonderful to me. So I just found that whole dark path really satisfying to me, especially because it's still done through a sort of childlike innocence. They've not, apart from Nibs, who's gone full on homicidal kind of uh, craziness. The rest of it has felt like more innocent, childlike stuff in a way. It's haunting them. I think was the setup of this, and even things like, again, I've just been praising the childlikeness of it, but slightly getting to fucking deck Morrow in the face. That has been, for the aspect of the show, that aspect of the show being the thing I was worried about the most, was these kids in adult bodies. That was the thing in this one that sort of tied it all together. And I was like, yeah, I'm on board with this angle and where this is going and the implications of this. And I'm excited. In general, I'm excited to see how they go. I still want to see her get fucked up by the alien, but you know,
And that was the one thing that felt like it did get kind of a resolution. It's like, okay, they've come into their own. They're at the next phase here. And I thought it was interesting that Wendy says to her brother when they're having their conversation, I don't know what I am. I mean, she still calls him her brother earlier in the same episode, so she still has some tie to Marcy. But I think there's like power in that, in being like, yeah, I'm in a space of just like not knowing who I am. And I thought that was interesting for her to say that.
and it was also hilarious because that whole exchange sort of, my notes went back and forth a little bit during that, because he's like, life's complicated, and she's like, don't fucking say that, that's what the powerless say. And then goes on to list all the reason why her life is complicated at the minute. And it was such, it was one of those funny moments where I'm like, he's there being a very frustrated fucking older brother to to this child.
I didn't want to slide back into the negative there, but yeah, one of my issues again with the episode was it felt like Wendy was just scolding everybody through the whole episode. And with Boy
Yeah.
Cavalier, it was satisfying and he deserved it. But with everyone else, especially her brother, when she's like, "Oh, you shot him," I'm like, your other hybrid friend explained it. Like, she was about to kill somebody, like,
Yeah, it's
so
like she did kill somebody. She just ripped someone's jaw off and then
or she yeah,
hunted
she was
someone
about to
else
kill
off the
more
boat.
people. She was about to
Oh
kill his
my
friends. So that Wendy being a little stubborn there, that irked me a little bit with her brother. She just had such a condescending attitude, I guess, to the whole episode.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that guy that goes like, "Oh, they made her too powerful." But I'm like, well, where are the stakes anymore? She controls the aliens. She controls the entire facility with Wi-Fi now. She controls other synths. And so,
That I didn't like.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
And
Yep.
we're getting
but
into River Glau territory here again, like we had talked about earlier, but more powerful. So again, like I think that's a stereotype complaining about, oh, they made her too powerful. But I don't know. It just feels like where are the stakes now? You know?
it also felt like that was also, they were making the characters too stupid when right at the beginning you have Adamine saying like, "Oh, we've got them contained, but the facility isn't designed to hold synths, so we don't know how long it's gonna take for them before they break out." And it's like, you did this experiment. This whole facility is for an experiment where you're putting child's minds into synth bodies, and you don't have any way to contain the synths if something goes wrong. Like,
Or a cut off, a kill switch, or anything
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
that
But
just seems stupid. It's like, "Oh, okay, so how smart are you supposed to be again exactly, Mr. Boy Cavalier, Boy Genius? You didn't
but
No,
decide to lock the
problem
doors?"
no style Dutch in our Patreon chat says never a good sign when it's a difficult task to find the positives. Yeah, with Boy Cavalier, that is another positive of mine actually, where we've gotten this sense that he's just very scatterbrained, and it's kind of bluntly just addressed here, where Kirsch is like, ADHD as severe as yours, are you taking your medication? Like, so it's just bluntly addressed. We do find out more about his past with his father and how Wendy throws that back at him. I thought that was a
And
very satisfying moment.
there is an interesting sort of thing there of cycle of abused become the abusers, because it's even more cyclical through this episode. Boy's past was he was abused by his father, and he's taken on a very abuser role to the synths now, and now the synths have also taken on a bit of a, or potentially heading towards that dark route of becoming abusers themselves. I say that as if she hasn't been ordering the alien to kill fuck tons of people, and Nibs hasn't been ripping jaws off. So yes, they are very much abusers. So this has been, it's a dark road that it's heading down, and I think I'm up for it. One of the, Adam, it's something me and you disagree on. I think Alien is an unfair franchise. And that's when I really like it. I love the ending to Covenant. I love the fact that the bad guy wins. I love Alien 3 ends in something of a hollow victory for Ripley if you go down the route of the rest of the franchise.
Let me,
Alien is
sorry,
unfair.
let me interject. I don't mind some unfairness. I just don't want everything to be bleak 100% of the time. And that's why I agreed with Fede Alvarez and what he said recently, where he's like, yeah, I didn't want to let some other director kill off my characters. And that's why I'm still involved. I'm like, can we have some investment from, I mean, wouldn't you be mad if Alien Earth Season 2, they're all just dead and we're with a completely new group of people? So yes, Alien can be bleak and it can have dark endings. I have no problem with that. It's just when that becomes the stereotype, I'm a
But
little
it's not the stereotype, though, is it? Let's be,
in the
you
expanded
know,
universe, maybe not.
well, in general, really. You have Alien 3, where they kill it off, and then I guess Covenant, I suppose. But who really liked Shaw anyway? I fucking hate her
I
character.
thought you came around to Shaw.
No, I hate Shaw. She frustrates the shit out of me
Oh man,
because
do we need to revisit Prometheus again?
no.
yeah,
Well,
it's much
um,
better.
Caleb, how about you? Anything you could praise about this episode if you if you search deep?
Uh, well, it's weird because I did kind of like the whole series. I've felt like I've been watching it. And I've been like, I've been enjoying this, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, I didn't enjoy most of that. So it's this weird feeling. I mean, I liked, some of the stuff with the alien. Um, and like I said earlier, I did like how the kids didn't go full on. I mean, again, apart from Nibs, I guess punching that security guard, but he kind of had it coming. I liked how they were just kind of, like Aaron said, like haunting the place afterwards. They weren't just like, okay, let's just go on a rampage now. Let's just break free and like kill everyone we see. Um, I mean,
Even
because
like the elevator, that seemed
yeah,
like such a childish little. Did
yeah,
anybody actually genuinely think that elevator was going to blow up?
No, I'm like,
no,
what?
what?
They have self-destruct elevators now, but I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
the soldiers thought that it was going to. I guess they thought Boy was crazy enough to put self-destruct devices in the elevators, but
Yeah, like I like that, when it was just like, oh, it's just the kids messing around and, they're not just going full on psycho. Like that's certainly a direction that we could see them go in the second season, but like I liked because one of the, peeves that I've had with the show or, in previous episodes is like sometimes the kids just don't act like you'd think children would in those situations, like when they're seeing all these, dead bodies on the ship and like Nibs was the only one that feels like she had a real reaction when the eye monster was attacking her and it freaked her out later on. Um, so I was glad that they weren't all just like, "Yay, murder is fun now," except for Nibs and kind of Wendy. Um, so I like that. The fight with Morrow and Kirsch was great, even if the resolution with those characters not so much. Um, it was cool getting to see the barnacle finally be a barnacle, even though we kind of figured that was probably what it was going to do.
I quite liked how it had a very octopusy kind of look to it moving around.
Yeah,
Because if there's one species on the earth that's going to fuck us over if they get too intelligent, it's octopuses, octopi. Very fascinating creatures, very intelligent creatures. So I actually quite liked that look.
and I have to
Reminded
agree.
me more of a starfish, how it moved, but yeah.
Yeah, it did kind of unfold and skitter around like that. I could see that too. Yeah, I agree with you, Caleb, in terms of the overall spooky vibe of this episode. That was kind of more of a highlight for me. It was nice seeing the hybrids kind of play around with that too. Like when Wendy just opened the door and she was like, "Oh yeah, tell us a story." Like how they're just really messing with them now because they've come to the conclusion like we're sick of just being your products and being controlled. And that was the main resolution again was that switching, that role reversal. And that was satisfying, I think. Even little moments where like Boy Cavalier starts running and Smee does like like he's trying to, to scare him. And Wendy's like, "Oh no, we're just hide and seek, remember?" And even Dame, and I remember we had some debate in our chat if Dame was deserving of being in there with the rest of them or not. But I think ultimately, yeah, they don't want to kill them all. They're putting them in the cage that they were put in, and they're like, now we're in charge. Um, where that leads, we'll have to see if it gets renewed. But yeah, I did like that overall spooky vibe. Even the shot of just Dame in her office, looking out the window with the rainstorm. I thought that was just such a nice spooky vibe, and I would have liked to have seen more of that in such a tropical environment, just more of a dark, stormy atmosphere.
Rather than all the sun and the alien out in the sun, yeah,
Yeah,
it would have been nicer if it had been overcast or in really dark grottos that are overgrown with vegetation and
yeah.
bits like that.
But like we've always wanted, Aaron, it was cool to see the alien stalk around the jungle. There was a couple good shots too of when the alien's making its way to the facility and killing off their men, where it's just these sweeping overhead shots and you see it just running around through the jungle that I thought were effective.
I enjoyed that as well. Just again as a theme of my reaction to the series, I enjoyed it, but this pissed me off kind of thing. And I was talking to Chevy was messaging me earlier today actually, and he's very much just sat in the middle in his response to the show. And um, one of the things we were talking about was the alien being out in the open like that, and it did get me thinking. Adam, for as much as I like, seeing the alien in the jungle, I think I could have done without with some of the some of the brightly lit shots of it. Like the only time I think it's worked really well, I say really well, I worked well enough was in that little ambush in the last episode because they actually managed to obscure a lot of the suit in the foliage and it was quick shots and stuff like that. And I have enjoyed seeing the alien be violent and be effective, but I'm still pissed off by the fact it's not been hiving people up or chopping legs off. This was what I was talking to Chris about. Sorry, was breaking legs or chopping legs off and stuff like that, and going and going and saving them for later. So it's very much, this whole show is just swings and roundabouts to me.
Yeah, we did get to see Hermit briefly hived in that truck.
Only because of plot armor.
Yeah. Wayne Ellis in our Patreon
Mm.
chat says, love the concept of Xenos in a jungle. Takes me back to the old Dark Horse comic Salvation. Yeah, it's something I've wanted to see, honestly, since I read the AvP movie novelization before the movie came out, where it had that original scene that was the other flashback scene in the jungle. So
It is also worth mentioning salvage is done in salvage. Salvation is done in a very nightmarish like quality. You know, the jungle stuff all is quite dark. Even the AvP scene in the book and the script. Have you read that script yet?
the original AvP script?
Yeah, the first draft that I got.
I don't think I have. I think I
Go
need
read
it.
it. Go
Okay.
read it. You know, all that is in the dark, in the overshadowed foliage. You know, if I remember rightly, there's like bits of the alien sort of emerging from the shadows on the tree trunk and stuff like that. So it's envisioned quite differently from the way we see the alien in here.
Oh. Greg, how about you? Anything that you could praise about this episode?
Well, let me think. Besides the fight between Kirsch and Morrow, which I think in the whole season, that fight is the best choreographed, in my opinion. Good use of the environment, good kind of.
Mhm.
They were set up, their conflict was set up and alluded to multiple times. And I, that's how you that's how you set up something and actually give a payoff with a conflict, and one of them wins. Uh, their
It was a
themes,
tie.
yes, but I mean, well, technically, Morrow won until the thing distracted them and it went further. But Morrow would have won if things haven't been different there. Still, I liked how you had their ideologies kind of hit their heads there. I like the little quips and quotes they used. It, again, one of the most influential actors in this entire show, having two of them kind of duke it out there was well done. What else? Okay, yeah, I will agree that if you take out the context, that's very annoying to me. But just as the scenes, the haunting of the facility was cool. That was cool. That wasn't so spooky as it kind of felt. You can empathize with the hybrids, they're getting their little revenge retribution, etc. But at the same time, then it is again emphasizing the huge disparity in that Wendy literally has god tier powers on the island, and that they are moralizing in the sense of, yeah, I believe all of the people in the cage were rightly in the cage. They are all absolute fucking awful human beings, synthetic cyborgs, absolutely. But at the same time, Wendy massacred people. She massacred people with her alien, and the brother is like, nobody gives moral pushback. Curly or none of the others give enough moral pushback. Maybe something with this me, but the
I
rest are
f-
like, okay.
I think
And
it's
she's
that
giving
last
moral lectures
shot.
to others.
I think it's that last shot of the episode where Wendy's gone, "We rule," and then it just sort of focuses on Joe, and he's just there like, "Oh fuck, what have I done?"
Joe is extremely forgetful. I mean, he kind of forgot through the whole season that he's a medic and should be saving the people and not just focusing on his sister there. But yeah, I mean, you had that kind of betrayal, and I was thinking something's gonna happen there. There were a few nice lines, but it's like that whole dialogue was cut short. It was going somewhere, and then no, you did a bad thing. You should have been on my side. And he's like, okay, okay, and just never mind that I know everyone's supposed to talk about the nice things, but I uh, the plot armor of the main characters just hurt me a lot. You have Boy Cavalier getting ready to get his comeuppance. He's running through the dark hallways. That was a nice scene when Wendy and Joe were coming, and it was like, oh, that's going to be a nice little confrontation. And then
I
the alien jumps, rips the guards, but no, we shall keep him for later. Like, okay.
I thought Boy was fun in this because everything seemed like a game to him, even when he was losing. Even that last moment of him in the cage where he just starts, laughing at Wendy, and like when he's running. Well, he's not running, so he skips down the corridor. Even when he's going away from the synths, he's skipping down the corridor like it's all still a joke and a game. And then his
That was
reaction
awesome. That was
his
awesome.
reaction to
Yes.
the alien as well. I was like, this is brilliant because
Yeah.
he's like, I just fucking pissed my pants. It's like I really enjoy him not taking everything seriously.
It's like he's getting kind of a thrill about it. And when he radios in, is like, first guard to find and protect me gets $1 million or something like that. And but yeah, at the end when Wendy like says, "Oh, you're no different than your father," I do have to wonder. Like that felt like genuine anger from him, where he was just like, "Out of minds, you're gonna let her talk to me like that?" Where it just showed like his pathetic nature, where he's just used to everyone handling everything for him, and he doesn't have that anymore, and it's starting to get to him. Even though, yes, maybe earlier in the episode, he was enjoying things, even though they were all falling apart to some twisted extent. I did
It's
like,
kind of made me wonder how much of that is actually forced, because Wendy makes a whole point of him saying, no, you're not the child who's never grown up because you were forced to grow up early on due to your situation. You were forced to build a new dad for yourself. So I'm sort of like, how much of that is artificial?
yeah,
I did like Adamines. I forgot to say that that was a nice reveal. We have to give a shout out to Eric Xenomorphin that he predicted that quite well. I wasn't 100% like thinking, yeah, that's sure to be the case. I thought that they would be kind of a pointless reveal systematically,
Yeah.
but it was kind of put in the story in not a horrible way. I generally liked it. It was cool. He was getting ready to whoop Hermit's ass, and seeing him kind of undress and like, yeah, I'm now gonna start this. But I was underwhelmed when Wendy just literally went, no, like you just froze him there. We could have had a cool confrontation
Mm.
again with her powers. It makes sense. That's what she would do in her ridiculous godlike powers. And then seeing just his eyes, like, "Fuck, what do I do?" That is a little bit funny. I did enjoy that reveal. That is one of the things that did put a smile on my face. But again, the moment there is something that I'm kind of, oh, okay, interesting, then there's at least two other things that kind of pop into why. So
I
Kailem, did you have
thought
something to chime in on that one?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I thought it was pretty conclusively established that he was going to be revealed as a synth in what episode was it, 3 or 4, when they had him standing next to a whole bunch of faces on the wall that were looked identical to his, and then Boy Cavalier threw that ball against the glass, and he just went like yoink and caught it without even looking. I was like, he's a synth.
Yeah, I
So
guess retroactively that was definitely some probably foreshadowing.
the reveal was definitely like a yep, called it kind of moment when that happened, but
Mhm.
it was still really cool because he's been a really cool character throughout the show. I really liked any time he's been on screen.
Certainly acting less synth-like than Kirsch. Um, it was interesting how, I mean, you assume he's the synth that Boy Cavalier said he created when he was 6, right? Who killed his father and became his new adoptive father. Like you assume that's the same synth.
Oh yeah, Atomine was 100% him because
I
he's always
assumed
been
that.
acting very fatherly to him in the show, at least as much as anyone ever could. So, and when he's like saying it, and they show him standing in the room, don't they? When he's like, I
Mhm.
created my own synth, and he was my dad now, and they show him in like profile. So it's like, yep, he was the synth dad that killed his real dad.
But I had no problem personality wise in that sense. I will always like fight to my last breath on that hill. That synthetics in the alien universe, they are human-like. They pass for human. They can be. They are hard to be noticed exactly for those reasons. So when I ever see them just acting like normal other people, they can be a little more stoic,
I
a little more cold. But
I
I'm all
fully agree with that. I guess there's just a sense that the synths earlier on, with the exception of David, I guess were a bit more stoic and became more. But again, this is its own thing, right? Um, so I mean,
Yeah,
you
and
have both.
Ash.
You have
Yeah.
Call in Resurrection, very human-like. You have Walter, who's also like comes across as very compassionate while also being very stoic. So that was an interesting balance with that. So yes, I'm not one to be like, oh, synths should be all logical and stoic. Like, no, they can be very human-like. And so I agree with you there, Greg. And that's one of the more interesting aspects I find about the Alien universe is artificial intelligence becoming more human-like. Um, but yeah, I mean, Kirsch, he played more into that. You kind of immediately tell he's a synth, even though he has like emotions and attitude and snark too. So he's not completely stoic either.
I also quite liked talk about Atomine sort of walking Joe into that trap. I actually liked how that little sequence played out, that little hide and seek with the Tio Celis played out between him and Joe.
Yeah, that was cool.
With him getting in the cage and then the Tio Celis getting through the feeding bit. It was very short, and to be fair, a lot of the scenes in this series are in this episode is that's very short, but it was a nice little moment, and it also led to a positive for me in this, which is, yay, we get to have more of the actor back. We get to have more of Arthur's actor back next season, even if he's going to be a stumbling around zombie
So
creature
that
thing.
yeah, that kind of goes to our earlier conversations in the series with the cat because we were speculating that cat was already dead probably when T.S. Ellis got to it, and the episode shows us that yeah, Arthur is very dead at this point, and has been for a minute here, but it can still immediately resurrect him. That is
Well,
pretty
they
yeah,
wild.
don't think of
literally
it as
beating a dead
resurrect.
horse.
It's yeah. I just took it like zombie style, like it's just activating his brain,
Yeah,
like
it's just using his impulses. I don't think we can claim that
You need more
he's
than
alive.
your brain to move around.
Yeah,
Shh.
I never took it as it's
It
supposed to be reanimating him as such. I,
yeah, it's
I
just
took it more as puppetry of a dead
puppet.
body.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same here. It's just
But
moving his limbs around.
it also kind of makes me wonder if perhaps this is going to be the difference in the way that the Tio Salis is portrayed in season 2. As far as we're aware, when we see it take over the guy in episode 5, that guy's alive. So maybe it actually needs a dead host before it can be a bit more interesting in terms of communication and stuff like that. Because that was something that I was a little disappointed about with 5. Um, just idle speculation on my part there.
And that was another thing that was left hanging is Boy Cavalier so wanted his conversation with this thing. And that it just
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
happen. And I do wonder again how T.S. Ellis like made its way all across the island to the beach. Like I know we see this piping system
Sewage.
that
Yeah, it's just
Vivian Webb
sewage.
goes up. So I guess yeah. But um it was a freaky scene though when it was after Hermit and it was again slingshotting itself across the room. That was
Did that
kind of
not remind you of playing a facehugger in AvP2 where you just
yeah,
used to pounce across the map?
yeah. Mhm.
Hermit has synthetic level reflexes with first how he survived the first encounter with the alien, now this with which door to close, how fast he reacts. Like he gets like 4 successes on his rolls all the time. His plot armor is like
He's performing
next
stunts
level.
and doing barrel rolls.
It's
Yeah.
but at least that scene was choreographed well, even though the plot armor I think is ridiculous with him. It was choreographed well. That was a fun little scene, and then seeing him trying to kick it, and then Wendy trying to kick it, and the poor thing, the poor eye is trying to kind of shake it off and keep on getting at them. But yeah, people, there was just so much speculation. People were expecting a bazillion things, like for the finale, for Boy Cavalier. People were expecting, oh, he must have inherited his money. He comes from a wealthy family. It must be the same as like in reality. Oh no, he must be an idiot. He didn't invent anything. And then for the eye, people were like, oh, it'll go into a synthetic and that'll give a good conversation. No, people expect too much. And it's always the simplest thing that kind of happens in this show. It's always what has been just portrayed from the start and nothing more. That's what
I
kind of
kind of I kind of think it's interesting that they didn't go down the Elon Musk route for Boy, and granted some of that's because the concept's been around longer than Elon turning out to be a dickhead has been. But I don't know. I kind of liked it that he was just this really smart guy who.
Idiot.
Well, he
Well,
was also
in
pretty
some
stunted.
ways,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I think it was in one of the official podcasts where they said like he could split the atom, but he couldn't cross a street. And I think that's a good description where it's like, yeah, and that's even addressed in this episode too, where he's talking to Kirsch, and Kirsch is like, "Be smart about this," and he's like, "Oh, I have a brain the size of a planet. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You have no impulse control there, though. Have you taken your medication?" So
And then he just forgets that, he knew that Wendy had Wi-Fi control over the whole facility and did
That
nothing about it, like 10
the
that
episodes
has
beginning.
back.
Yeah,
that
the
has to
beginning
be
is
the
when it's
most
the issue.
that has to be the most frustrating thing about the series. I think is the lack of. We all complained about episode 5 where nobody seemed to give a shit that there was an alien running around. And for the entire season, I think there has been a serious lack of concern, overall concern, sorry, should I say, of the capabilities of the hybrids and their ability to stop it. Obviously they're all concerned about nibs, despite it did kind of one of the episodes, was it this one or was it the last one, where they kind of implied that maybe Wendy did know, but um, but she sort of deliberately fucked it up by going to tell Nibs what had happened. So that was kind of an interesting approach to take it there, but um, other than Nibs and that specific time, it did feel like they just kind of moved on a little too quickly from that being a big concern. But
Hmm.
I did like the moment between Hermit and Morrow. That was brief because they'd only really had one meeting before, which is when Morrow saves him and then shocks him, and they address that. Um, and I thought that was a nice moment, especially when they get out and he's just like, "I'm going to save everybody I can," and then Morrow's like, "Well, save the kids because I'm burning this place to the ground." And then later, when Morrow uh, sees Arush and you wonder if he's actually sincere about this because he seemed to care about comforting the kid before, or if he's just trying to save his own life when he says like, "I want you to know I didn't hurt your mother." If at that moment he's just like, "Please don't kill me," and that's his way of saying, "Please don't kill me." But I did think there were some good moments with Morrow. I know some have expressed disappointment that he didn't use more of his cyborg abilities in that fight.
but I liked that they locked his arm up in that little container thing, because I was like, oh, that's actually quite smart of you. And to see him deck that guy with it on was kind of funny.
Yeah, that contraption there really looked nice. It was another win for the creative set people there. And yeah, I completely forgot, Adam, before you brought it back up, that scene between Hermit and Morrow. It's probably because every and any scene with Hermit just gets kind of erased from my mind. But that was a good line there. That is one of the, again, few scenes that I agree there I enjoyed. So thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah, and I think Hermit, he's in a place of confusion and not knowing his place here too, and we do see a bit more of a flashback with him, which I enjoyed during that kind of wartime and civil unrest time where he wished he could be back with Marcy when she was dealing with her cancer. I liked seeing that little glimpse of that and how like he's trying to be that brother figure here, but Wendy, Marcy, whatever she's going to call herself in season 2, is not in that space anymore. But they still do have some bond that has remained from before, and they're both kind of navigating that here. So I know some people have said Hermit has felt like a pretty side character, but I've overall really liked him as a character, and I think the actor's performance has been solid there.
It'd have been nice if the last few episodes had done more with him. I feel like after episode 5, his presence kind of dropped off a little bit. But the moments we got with him were fun, like the elevator verbal duel and the actual physical fight in this, and yeah, some of his lines in this episode as well. I liked when he woke up and he was like, "Just leave me be for a minute because this is going to be the best I feel all day." Uh, I was like, "Yeah, this is a guy who knows he needs sleep when he can get it and that kind of thing."
Little tangent here brought up in our Patreon chat that I wanted to bring up because I thought it was an interesting point. No Style Dutch says, in the end, it was good that we got Romulus first.
Romulus was a good film, and
Definitely.
I will not hear any comments to the contrary, and I never have.
But regarding Hermit's kind of presence or non-presence, depending on who you ask, I will say that personally, the actor, I really like the few things I've seen him in, like the show The End of the World, and in both of the seasons, and in that one Black Mirror episode. I adored him. He was fantastic. So I was kind of disappointed with what they gave him here, that he really didn't shine through like how I know he can in the other spots I've seen him in. So that was a bit strange for me there. Another thing with his character that confused me is, especially because I constantly watch all of the behind the scenes materials, the podcasts, official, etc. They kept on saying that Hermit made a distinction when calling Wendy either Wendy or Marcy. And in the entire, unless I missed it, so but I really try like rewatching it all. I have never heard once Hermit call her Wendy. Like, oh, is he? Does he see her as Wendy or Marcy? I was thinking, okay, maybe after he sees the graves or after she starts the massacre with the alien in the lab. No, I don't think I've still ever heard him call her Wendy. So that was a whole plot thread that was kind of dropped. Maybe they're deleted scenes, maybe it was just, changed, but it was kind of funny when you're tracking the behind the scenes stuff, and so the people, the actors and producers, the directors talking about all of this, and you're like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting to see, ooh, will this have kind of a conflict? Will he call her Wendy and she will have a reaction like, what did you say, or something? And nope, none of that. So that's why it kind of even more cemented for me that his character was completely just eh, there, there to
Like
be a mirror to Wendy.
like a number of elements, it's something that I hope is developed more in season 2 should we get that is his character. But I enjoyed him, and I think he was something that Wendy needed. The two, their bond, I think, is a core part of the show, even if we know maybe a little bit more about her than we do about him at this point. Casper in our Patreon chat says Mold Scrubber had more screen time than the plant. Um, we do see the Mold Scrubber again very briefly, just going about his business, which was interesting because I guess they had evacuated the island of all non-essential
All
personnel.
non-essential personnel is
Got to
what
get
they
rid of that
said.
mold, man, all the time. So even if the aliens are invading the facility, still got to clean the place up. But yeah, I was wondering if that would play into T.S. Ellis as well. So I was a bit surprised when it ended up on the beach.
Well, they quickly moved away from that, though, didn't they? Because Boy was like, maybe one of the mold scrubbers, and then he quickly changed his mind.
Yeah, yeah. It seemed like he was about to give it to one of his guards, and then because he's like, "Oh, how do you like your eyes?" He's like, "Oh, sir," and he leaves the room. He's like, "I think I'll feed you to someone weak, just in case." Which, again, nice moment with Boy in this episode. I will say, when the episode starts, we have Dame visiting the graves, and I'm like, "How far are these graves from the facility? What are you doing out here when all the shit is going down?"
Nobody cares about the alien. Nobody cares
Yeah.
about these dangers running around.
Literally, the characters even forget there's an alien in the show. Like, hilarious. And the alien then comes, and
That
that's
ricochet was so bad.
that as well. But the extreme plot armor there, like, I will say, alien films have always had this half issue where the alien kind of goes near its victim and it takes its time with the grabbing it and getting the head bite ready. It does take a few seconds. But here, it is quite pronounced when you have this different interpretation. You have the alien going fucking lightning fast and ripping apart red shirts, not important people, who gives a shit about them. And when it's a character with a name, it comes up, it looks at you, it thinks about life, and then it decides maybe I'm going to drool and open my mouth, giving you 10 seconds to do something. So when you have such a contrast, it's a lot more visible than in, Aliens, etc., where it was a bit more consistent with how much time it's needed. But here you literally have one regime for the NPCs and another regime for the important folk, which those are the elements that kind of breaks me out of the immersion for
Yeah.
this situation.
The alien
That's
certainly
fair.
takes its time when it needs to, and it beasts through everybody when it needs to.
Mhm.
And every
Anybody
single guard on the island was incompetent, apparently. Because it's like, an alien and it's really good at killing, but holy crap, like, how many guards did they have on that island? You'd
These
think
guys,
once it started killing one of them, the rest of them would be like, "Well, alright, let's just point and shoot," but
and these guys have
apparently not.
pulse rifles and smart guns and everything. That was another thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, we get to see that pulse rifle fired once, and this is the first return of an M4A1 we've had in who knows how long now. So I wish we would have seen more just action on that front.
Apparently at this point in the timeline, they were just crap against aliens compared to what they would become later on.
no explosive tipped
Yeah,
ammunition here.
10 mm
Although,
casings.
although, to be fair, in this episode, it isn't a pulse rifle being used; it's one of the carbine things.
They're shooting BB gun bullets. They're little pellets. Oh, I forgot to change from my, paintball or whatever challenges. Oh,
Well,
I should
another
have
issue
done the
I
real
had,
bullet.
they say they're gonna go to the armory when they get in that elevator, and then they go to the lab first. And I'm like, "Wait, I thought you guys were going to the armory to get, like,
Yeah,
armed up. That probably would have come in handy here."
they went to the
Um
armor lab.
Well, she kills those two other nameless security people
Oh, yeah.
when she gets sucked up by the plant. She
Oh,
kills
just because
those other
she's
two.
firing around. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Friendly fire isn't. Yep, friendly fire isn't.
Yeah. Well, sorry if, anyone listening to this has liked this episode.
Well, no, Adam, come on. We've got to cover all bases because if we liked this episode, we weren't true fans, and if we disliked this episode, we also weren't true fans. So it was we had to cover both bases here. Let's be honest.
You can't say people haven't been passionate about the series because we certainly had a lot of people chiming in here in the Patreon chat more than we have before, but on our YouTube channel comments as well. So we appreciate all your input. We appreciate you tuning in. uh Again, we must reiterate, you're welcome to love it if you love it. Don't let our
Well,
critiques and criticism bring it down, and if you agree with us, great.
let me also say that I think out of every single episode so far this season, this one has been the one that has been extremely swingy. So looking at the poll on our post on the website, the most votes at 27% is it is a 1 out of 5. It is terrible. Followed directly by 5 out of 5 at 22% at outstanding. So, that is immensely, I mean, that's pretty close. 5% difference there between this thing is amazing and this thing sucks balls.
And this is why I have to give Romulus some credit, is because it feels like it was the one mostly non-divisive thing we've had in a long time. And it seemed at the beginning this show wouldn't be super divisive with, I mean, it seemed like critics and audiences were pretty aligned in terms of just loving it, where you had some fans that were gripey about it, but I feel like as it's gone on, it's become more divisive.
Indeed. And to be fair,
Definitely.
I'd said since those first initial press reactions, weren't I? Was like, there ain't no way this is this good.
Yeah.
I was kind of doubting
You were
Aaron
right.
at the start, and I was just so goddamn hoping that this will be good. This will be good because I'm generally a person who loves shows, and I really do think that Alien as a universe, as a property, can work fantastically as a show. The thing that really kind of then disappointed me was that this didn't hit the mark for me, and in a sense, I'm afraid of both outcomes. If it's extremely successful, I'm afraid of the elements that are numerous here that I don't like flooding over into the other future films, books, games. But at the same time, if it does extremely poorly, which I don't think it will, but if it does somehow extremely poorly, in the sense it doesn't make enough money back, whatever, then it will kill the prospects of having another show. In my ideal situation, I want to have other seasons of other directors, showrunners doing a completely different thing. I would love to have another parallel show that has nothing to do with Noah Hawley and this direction, etc. But if it does super poorly, we'll never get that in that sense. But if it does super well, maybe they'll just focus on this. So I'm really kind of in two worlds about it, and I don't know how to feel about the reception it's getting. I'm happy that there are people that like it. I'm always happy that somebody is enjoying what a lot of people have spent time and money on making. But at the same time, I'm just like so uh, dissonant with uh, the reasons people enjoy it. I just kind of find it hard to completely connect and understand that part. But again, good for you. It doesn't make anybody more or less of a quote unquote disgustingly true fan, whatever, if you like it or you hate it. Casual, quote unquote casuals or intense fans, whatever you want to call it, there are people on both sides loving and hating this. So it's it's all completely normal. I am happy that the community has been having a lot of back and forth engagement with it. At least there's been a lot of
Yeah.
people talking.
It's certainly sparked a lot of discussion between us and just people online. It's gotten people into Alien, back into Alien, like you mentioned with Jack, Aaron. And overall, like I am looking forward to watching this season again as a whole because there were things I really liked about it. I think ultimately, even with how strongly I felt about those first few episodes, it ended up being a pretty mixed bag for me. Would I be down for season two? Yeah, I'm invested at this point. I want to see what happens with these characters. Caleb, what about you? Are you hoping for renewal? Is this something you'd like to see more of?
I mean, if it gets renewed, I'll definitely watch it because it's, an alien show, and I did like a fair amount of this, but I also wouldn't be terribly disappointed if they said it wasn't getting a renewal, to be honest. I would not have been terribly disappointed if it hadn't gotten a newel in the first place,
Ooh,
to be
ooh.
fair. But and that's coming from someone that say I did overall like the show, but it's also just been frustrating, there's like so much of it from both just a regular show standpoint and like a fan's standpoint where I'm like, ah, they didn't need to do that, or that could have been so easily avoided, or you know, why couldn't they have just done why couldn't they have done that better? Kind of thing. So it's been kind of a frustrating show because I feel like it's been really close to greatness, but it's not there. So yeah, I'd be fine if it didn't get another season, but I'll watch it if it does.
Aaron, what do you think?
I don't know. Like, look, at the end of the day, I've been quite vocal with don't give me AVP Annihilation. It sounds shit. I don't want it. I don't want it to damage the reputation of the franchise. Alien Earth, like there's been things I liked. There's been things I've not liked. would I rather that it just not continued, just in case it pushes forwards things I don't like and they creep into the franchise going forwards? Things like fucking ovomorphs, that is pervasive and stupid, and it is just continued. And like I said, I have no particular passion either way for this. It's not like I hated it and it was as shit as Requiem is or anything like that. But it's not like I loved it either. So, and I don't know. This sits around Prometheus for me as being frustrating.
Requiem's not shit.
Requiem's better.
um, I kind of I'm at the same spot I'm with a third as I am with a third prequel by Scott. I'm like, let's just do it and see how bad shit it gets. So again, I'm invested at this point. I would like to see one. I don't know if I would have the same level of excitement that I had leading up to this. I also had trepidation leading up to this, but I think with the second one, it would be more like, okay, well, let's see where this goes. I feel like Fallout, again, comparing it to Fallout, really struck that balance of, wow, that was an awesome conclusion. That was a very satisfying season. I can't wait to see where it goes next. And Alien Earth failed for me on that front. There may be a lot of things about the show. I still think those first few episodes were fucking awesome, but ultimately I wasn't left satisfied, and I'm not really anticipating a second season, but I would be open to one. Um, let's dive into the Patreon chat a little bit here. Sarah says, I'm just here for emotional support, but we always appreciate your emotional support, Sarah. Steve Patterson says, as a whole, I love the series. I was just disappointed with the outcome of the final episode. Wayne Ellis says, on to Romulus too. I agree with that. Casper says, so no LV426 mentioned. Guess we will never know when they got it from. Yeah, I had read somewhere that they name dropped that, but that never appeared in the season. So I think that was I was waiting for that to pop up. No Style Dutch says, I'm still living very much within the world that I've created and with a green light for season 2. I think I would dive in a little more probably to look at what's the big picture of the show. Um, let's see here.
No, he was quoting Noah Hawley there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So No Style Dutch elaborates, how does it fit into the big picture of the films? What are the things that we're stuck at with in terms of landmarks and dates and these sorts of things?
Also Noah Hawley.
So this will be something we're about to get into here.
Yeah, now he gives a shit.
Well, he has said so basically that this first season he just wanted to do whatever he wanted to do with the story, and then if it's good enough and he can make a second season, then he'll start considering connecting things
Trying
for me.
to jam that
Blew my
square peg
mind.
into the round hole
That
that he's
sounds
created.
absolutely fucking awful.
That's so yeah, and it's
I
like,
just
dude, that is not the way to do it.
just keep being your own thing.
Yeah, at least that way you can just keep it separate and just say, "Look, they're conclusively separate, it's its own thing,
Yeah.
whatever, just don't try and jam it into the continuity of the movies after the fact, because that ship has sailed."
I was trying to find the comment here, but someone had mentioned that they wanted us to talk about that and its place within the wider continuity. And yeah, Noah Hawley's done a number of interviews, and we've read quite a few of them. And some of them have seemed quite contradictory. There was a recent one with the Hollywood Reporter where he says, I don't have a plan. Whereas just a couple of weeks earlier with Collider, he said, I do have a general plan and I know where it's going. So just kind of a direct contradiction there.
Modern day Ridley Scott.
and
Yeah.
he's also said in the past, this is very much its own thing. The film, 20th century films, and you got a nice little scorpion alien there, Aaron. Is Aaron
A better
bored?
looking alien.
Is he playing with his toys now? So yeah, that was another contradiction where he said, oh, this is very much its own thing, its own separate space that maybe they'll maybe they'll take influence on how I've structured humanity on the Earth, even though that's already been established in the Alien universe, and
Yeah,
it's not
yeah, I really hope they
bad.
don't.
But now in a more recent interview, he has said, "Oh, I have to work it into what's going on with the films now." And the Nostromo is launching like 2 years prior to this, or around this time. And I'm like, wait a minute. So, okay, these ships do have FTL drives then.
But he
Did you just
doesn't know
leave the
that.
Maginot crew out in space for that long without towing it back or something if ships had been upgraded that much by then? So there's just, again, with grounded sci-fi, you gotta really do your homework and think things through, because nerds like us are gonna pick through this logic stuff.
Mhm.
And you can call us nitpicky, but again, and there's a certain amount of things we're willing to overlook if it's just good and satisfying enough. Even the original Alien films have their logic flaws if you look close enough, but it compounds quickly. And when there's things, especially in a, I would say, even though the continuity has become very convoluted, the Alien universe is also very well fleshed out and well thought out. And yeah, there's just certain things here that don't make sense in context with the wider lore. And again, that would be all right if, like you had said in your interviews earlier, oh, this is just its own thing. But now you're not saying that. And that was my problem. There's no clarification here. And now you're saying, oh, we have to go into the world of the films now. And so, a little confused by some of
Yeah.
the interviews we've been having here, and that also makes me even more cautious about a season 2, I would say.
It feels like he's said, "Oh, shit, it turns out," from, like, doing all these press release, all these, you know, press rounds, interviews, he's like, "Oh, shit, people actually do care about the continuity of a long-running franchise," from all the amount of times he's been asked about how it fits into the canon and stuff. He's like, "Oh, I guess maybe I should have just, like, Googled some of this stuff before I wrote this show that I apparently had in mind for 8 years and couldn't be asked to look any of this stuff up in the meantime. So,
Yeah, as
gonna
no
start
style
jamming them round pegs into the square holes."
as no style Dutch kind of points out, he didn't even look through Xenopedia as some filmmakers do, or any kind of if you don't want to watch the films. When people say that things don't fit in to the lore, we're not going like super anal. You have to be correct with every single comic, etc. Expanded universe thing. No, F- like you could just respect, at least respect the creatives, the directors, the people that came here and wrote the films that were before you. You do not have to reference things. Being connect. You don't have to connect with the lore. You just have to. You don't have to, but it would be nice to not contradict it. And you don't even have to focus on it. Like if you're a writer, director, creative, hire some goddamn consultant to tell you, oh, okay, this is stepping on those toes. Just change the name of this or move 1 centimeter to in this direction or something. You don't have to do it, but it would be nice. Like especially if you're making such a big setting. So this is something that no film dared to do, to put it on Earth. So you are trying to make a lot of new ground, new rules. It would kind of make sense for you to care as a creative. Is there any material I could use as a reference? Heck, it would be easier, from a creative standpoint. But people don't like
I
limits.
mean, with Romulus, that was an exciting element, right? When they brought in EU things. Like I remember with Plagiarius Praeptons, Aaron, you were very excited about that. Alex White was excited to see their work in the film. Like we do like seeing the EU mind for this stuff. And that was something in the context of Earth. Yeah, I want to see Free World Empire and United Americas. Like these are things that have been explored in the EU a bit, and I want to see that. So yeah, and Wayne Ellis says in our Patreon chat, there's no way you can jam Earth into the film continuity. Just wouldn't work. At this point, there's not. You've already kind of put yourself on the track of this is its own thing. So um, again, I know we've been railing on this a lot, and in terms of like its effects on the wider Alien universe, but I want to know what you guys would think. What if it did that, Aaron? What if it does try and be more in line with the films in season 2? Is that something you'd be averse to at this point? If
Absolutely.
if they're like, "Oh, we there's this ship out there called the Nostromo and we have to like get them to go to this planet."
Well, that not so much. So, I always expected it to sort of end towards that kind of thing anyway. But it's more the fact that I'm just like, yeah, it's its own thing. It might tie into Alien in some fashion, or might be some other interpretation of Alien, maybe. But if they actually switch gears and go, oh yeah, shit, we actually are in the same continuity, and we're going to try and sort of retroactively fix all this bullshit that we've done, that I'm like, now I'm not interested, thank you, mate. But if you want to end with it being something to do with the Nostromo getting redirected to LV426, whatever, I expected it all along. I'm just not invested in the show, really.
And that's the problem. I think, like, yes, I think the
Mhm.
characters are intriguing. I was on track to being invested in the show, uh, but it fell off for me, unfortunately. Um, is that how you guys feel as well? Are we all not truly invested enough to really have that hype for a season 2?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree that like like things were building quite well for me up until about episode 5, and then it feels like that was kind of the turning point where there was just a lot of unnecessariness about the 5th episode, and then it felt like 6 and 7 just dragged their heels with more stuff that was it was like, okay, episode 4 set this up, and now
3
we're
and 4 were the best, in my
yeah,
opinion.
like, 3 and 4 set some good stuff up, and then 6 and 7 are now kind of just dragging their heels again, and then we got a really truncated feeling finale, and it definitely fell off in the back half, and like you said, if they try and go like, "Oh, whoops, people actually care about continuity with the movies," like, who would have thought in this decades-long, franchise that's only had a single continuity in live action up until this point, who would have thought that people would have given a shit? And then try and be like, "Oh, well, actually this and that and blah, blah, blah," and they try and, jam this into continuity. It's like Aaron, like, I just wouldn't care. I'd just be like, like, "Sorry, it's too late for that. We've already established this is its own thing. If
I
you wanted to
always
go that route, you should have done it in the first place."
I always thought Ridley Scott trying to make David the space jockey was the thing that would make me rage quit. Um,
Yeah.
Albeit entirely disinterested, but yeah, I feel like Alien Earth trying to majorly course correct would just really piss me off as well.
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh,
it would. 'Cause it's
well, like,
just,
sorry, go
it's
ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say it's so, like, you so blatantly, obviously didn't care while you were making this show, and now to just try and do it after the fact, it's like, "No. You had your chance. You had your chance, Gorman."
And that's the
Mhm.
frustrating thing. You could have made this work in mainline continuity. You wouldn't really have had to
Yep.
change much.
Yep.
And like you mentioned earlier, Greg, I do wonder because FX and 20th Century Television are actually different entities, you know? It makes me wonder if 20th Century Television would want to replicate the success of this and do their own series in the continuity of the films. And I wouldn't be opposed to multiple Alien series either. But are you feeling like we are, Greg, in terms of like you're not really anticipating a season 2? You're more just ambivalent about it?
Well, I was
Or
anticipating this.
are you averse to it?
That sigh says yes.
I was anticipating this question and kind of thinking how diplomatic and nice should I be when answering it. But we're here to be honest. So the honest truth is, after I watched that final episode, I literally felt I don't want to watch season two. I don't want to continue in this universe at all. Now we shall see because it'll be years from now if my feelings will change, etc. Maybe I will get the willingness to actually hop back on to the new season. But as of now, I have no real interest. Like, I mean, of course, I will be helping with reporting on the news about it, etc. But I have no real interest in watching the season 2. Uh, the I can't believe that my level of enjoyment is on this bar, but it's for me, it's literally on the level of the Predator for me, enjoyment-wise. It has different problems, but
Oof.
like I enjoy all the other Alien and Predator films more than this show. It has some good elements, but even the oh, I can't even call them good elements for me. They're okay-ish. Even the okay-ish elements are done so much better in other series, in other media. Exploration of what it means to be human, exploration of AI, exploration of alien infestations, serious drama. Like, I don't get anything beneficial here. And as an alien show as well, it just screws the things up a lot there. Maybe I will say the one positive thing I do like that this show has given us that I wouldn't be opposed to see borrowed in future elements is the existence of cyborgs in this universe. That has always made sense. That always kind of it would have been a logical step. And that is one element I would not have a problem seeing kind of repeated somewhere else. But as of any of the other ones, I'm not feeling it as of right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, and there are nice contributions this series has made to the Alien franchise. I feel like that's one of them. Again, that's an aspect I've enjoyed of the Deus Ex games, and it would make sense in the Alien universe that you would have cyborgs. Even some of the weaponry here, I wouldn't mind seeing some of the weaponry adapted into mainline stuff, like the bullpup pulse rifle. I think it's a really cool design. I wouldn't mind seeing that in some other stuff, but I don't think there's any way to really mesh this. And I know this has been kind of an ongoing thing throughout our discussions here post these episodes is and we're the fans that see this stuff, which is why I'm worried about it, because I think main audiences are going to be confused with this mixed messaging about the show's place in continuity. Um, but and I hate to end this on this note. I mean, considering where we started, it seems like we did end up being the nitpicky fanboys, Aaron, at the end of all this. But like you said, Greg, we got to be honest. And the show is a very mixed bag. Again, I'm going to praise all the hard work and effort that went into this. This was such a long time coming from 2019. It's crazy to think about that we were first reporting on this from before 2019, I think, and then the roadblocks that the show experienced through the pandemic and the strikes, and now we finally watched all of it and we're talking about it. It's wild to think about. No Style Dutch says that Disney check didn't clear. that's right. That allows us to be this critical. But yeah, so while there's things I like about it, if it comes out on Blu-ray, I hope it does. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna dive into it. There's things about it I really like. It started off really strong for me. I still stand by those first few episodes. I think they were a great start for the series. Ultimately, it was just unfortunately a very mixed bag for me, and it sounds like all of us are at least agreed on that. While we may feel differently about this episode or certain episodes in particular, I feel like we're all very mixed on the series.
Can we do the quiz
Yeah.
now?
Yes, that'll at least cheer us up, right?
Remember, we're allowed to argue with Greg.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yes,
if we
you
feel
can.
like so it's multiple choice unless we feel
That
it
Greg's being a
shouldn't be.
dick.
It's bullshit, all of it. Multiple choice, the
Uh,
whole business.
do you have really any choice at all, or are you just pre-programmed hybrids? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, let's start this out. I think this will be a simpler one. So, as the psychopathic hybrids have started their rule on Neverland Island, the others have been left to rot in their cages. But you a corrupt human, a fumbling cyborg, or a broken synthetic, what else is there to do but to pass the time? Are you all in the mood for a little quiz? Alas, it's not like you can say no at the moment. If we get enough answers right, Maybe we'll appease our hybrid overlords and they'll let us go? No harm in finding out. First question. In the last 2 episodes, there's a unique weapon that the Prodigy security team is carrying around. The gear in question appeared in which game first? Bonus points for anyone who knows what weapon the question is referring to. So, in which game did this unique weapon for Prodigy security team appear first? Is it A, Alien vs. Predator Capcom Arcade? B, Aliens vs. Predator Atari Jaguar? C, Aliens vs. Predator Classic 2000? Or D, Aliens vs. Predator 2?
You're not even going to tell us what the weapon is?
You've seen it. You've seen it in multiple episodes. You've seen it also in episode 3.
It was the useless
Hmm.
POS 5000. All the Prodigy Security Corp had one.
It's if I said it would be maybe a bit too easy to guess in which game it is. There is a unique piece of gear. It's very distinct. It's not like
I'm going to go with my intuition on this one. I think I know which one you might be talking about.
probably, but
Hey,
let's get to
can you give us a hint? Is it a mounted weapon?
It's not a small thing. It's a big mounted
Okay,
thing.
okay. Because
Okay.
there are multiple mounted weapon types in this. So.
Yes,
They
but
all
that's why I
blow.
said the Prodigy security team. So,
Okay.
that was
Can you give me the options again for the
I will. Is it A, Alien vs. Predator Capcom Arcade? So that game. B, Aliens vs. Predator Atari Jaguar. C, Aliens vs. Predator Classic 2000. Or D, Aliens vs. Predator 2. Okay. Number 2. The image chose to traverse half the goddamn island to get to Arthur, ignoring the multitude of other dead humans on the way, as well as live creatures, they're Komodo dragons and crocodiles, whatever. Meaning we'll be seeing a lot more of Arthur, that's a nice meme out there, in season 2. But can you tell me why, realistically, we wouldn't see Arthur as a good host? Would it be A, because of putrefaction? B, because of decomposition? C, because of corneal opacity, meaning not be able to see? Or D, rigor mortis?
E, they didn't see eye to eye.
Okay,
why
that's a good.
why he wouldn't find it a good host?
Why the image
bad
wouldn't
breath.
find Arthur a good host? Like realistically, if
Well,
that
we're
thing
dealing
actually
with
had
realism
meaning.
in the context of this series. That's the first problem.
Yes, that's why I added realistically, because in the show that obviously wouldn't be applicable. But
What were the first 2 options again?
A, putrefaction. B, decomposition. C, corneal opacity. Or D, rigor mortis.
Okay.
So, 3. The legendary boy genius is so remarkable that he was able to build an entire synthetic on his own at the age of 6. In an alternate, more plausible universe, there was once a man called Peter Wayland. He wasn't as brilliant as Boy, of course, but he did have great achievements in his youth. At what age did he get a patent for his innovative synthetic trachea? It was in the
As in the
expanded universe
timelines and all
material.
the stuff.
Yes. Was it at the age of A, 14, B, 13, C, 12, D, 11?
One more time, please.
Okay. So when did he get the patent for his synthetic trachea that he made? Was it at the age of A, 14, B, 13, C, 12, or D, 11?
I can feel your disdain for the show with all of these questions, Greg.
What? No. No.
Going deep low here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there is a change in the quiz questions from the first episodes to this one. Maybe something is leaking through there through my hybrid exterior. Sorry for that. So, what were your answers for the first question?
I went with classic, thinking you were talking about the minigun.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was also my answer.
Okay, Kailem.
I went with B. Also,
Okay,
the Atari Jaguar. I think thinking.
the Tower Jaguar. The
Though I
correct
was thinking
answer is
something minigunish.
yes. You get a point for the minigunish part, but the correct answer is C. The minigun was first in Alien vs Predator Classic 2000. It is a bit more prominent in AvP2, but that's why I said first. It was in Classic 2000. Of course, for the chat, we all know that that gun is a direct homage reference to Blaine's minigun from Predator. So that's kind of nice element there.
I
I
think
like
this
the look of
is
that in the show.
the first time a minigun has appeared in a live action Alien thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Even
Absolutely.
though
Mhm.
the games were taking inspiration from Predator, I think, with that, like you said.
Yeah.
True. True. But that prop looked great. Great. We saw too little of it. It was not even used. But it looked fucking awesome.
I mean, it's something
Got-
that we had in Fireteam Elite as well, was the rig mounted minigun. So that was
The laser chain gun thing.
yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. For Wei Yu. Okay. So the second question: what answers did you put down?
I did
Absolute-
rigor mortis D.
Yeah, I went with
Okay.
D as well.
Absolute guess. I went putrefaction. I didn't think a day was long enough for rigor mortis.
Okay. So the correct answer is, funnily enough, D, rigor mortis.
Okay.
It starts to settle after a few
Oh.
hours, and then it lasts for like around 8 hours to almost a day. It's not permanent, as some people kind of think, but it lasts quite a long time. So technically, it wouldn't be able to really move at all. But like, it's a fun fact that corneal opacity wouldn't mean shit because it's looking through its own eye. That's the first state of decomposure. You have a bunch of mortises before you go to rigor mortis, and then there is putrefaction and then decomposition. So my Google list has probably got me on some security state.
We only got to
get
worry
these.
about that over here these days.
Oh, unfortunately, everywhere. But
Mm.
question number 3: what did y'all put down? When did Peter Wayland make his synthetic trachea?
Complete guess. I went with 14.
Yes.
I went with
Okay.
A. as
I
well,
also went with
14.
A14.
Well, fucking hell, your guesses have some predictive intuition because the correct answer is A, 14 years old.
We got Oliver
Yes.
Bragg. Hell yeah.
You've been doing some Googling over there or something. But
We
yeah,
didn't
that was
know Googling. That was
Mm.
all intuition.
Mhm.
that was a patent. So that's when he got the patent for the synthetic trachea. The fun fact: it seems that was already his 12th registered patent at that point, but that was the one that was only kind of mentioned on the site.
The
So-
timeline really went all out on trying to flesh out the background of
Yeah.
Prometheus.
He
It was fantastic.
Also
He
a
was so
prodigy,
goddamn
it
detailed.
would seem.
Well, not as much of a prodigy as our boy genius, but he was trying. He was trying. It was an earlier time. He didn't
I
have.
don't know. I like the
YouTube
realism
material.
of Charles Bishop Whalen, who took his time getting all his accomplishments. That's what I'm
Mhm.
going to say about
Agree there as
We
well.
are the gods now.
I'm Captain Audition now.
That's blasphemy.
Go on, Adam. Take us home, buddy.
Okay, well, if you're still with us at this point, thank you as always for watching us on YouTube or listening to us on all the major podcasting platforms. If you like what we do at AvP Galaxy, we have a whole backlog of podcast episodes, so be sure to check those out. We always appreciate you leaving your thoughts, whether negative, and letting us know how you feel we can improve, or positive. If you enjoy the show, let us know. It always helps us out to have those reviews on podcasting platforms. You can always find us on our main hub of activity, our website, avpgalaxy.net, where we have all the latest coverage of happenings in the franchises, editorials, features. We got some big ones coming up for this very series, some things we will be dropping that you can delve into. You can also find us on all the major social media channels: Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, and we have Discord and Steam groups as well. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters who joined us in chat today. If you'd like to support us, if you'd like to support us in what we do at AvP Galaxy, check out patreon.com/AvP Galaxy. And from all of us here on the AvP Galaxy podcast crew, ending it out for Alien Earth Season 1, this has been RidgeTop.
Corporal Hicks.
Still collating.
And Kailem.
Ruling things now.
You broke the tradition. It's the omelet one.
Oh, guarding the omelet. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll stick with your little creative thing. I don't get any of mine.
Ruling over the omelets, as
There we go.
Yeah,
Queen Hybrids do.
that works. Thank you, everybody. Until next time.
Bye.